Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Fyrdsman. You may have noticed that I've not really been around recently. Not that I ever particularly had the most regular upload schedule anyway, but there we are. There are a few reasons for that. The biggest one, I suppose, is that I've spent the last 3 years working on a massive creative project, which is my first ever novel. It is complete. It is about 70% of the way through the editing process at the moment. Damn, has it been a hell of a journey? But it's been one that I've really enjoyed. Um, Writing and editing every day for the past maybe 3.5 years, actually. I don't know. It's been a while. But yeah, it's been fun. So I figured I'd make a little video to talk about it, talk about what it means to me, and I guess what's next. Yeah, so let's go. The Empire of Light's indomitable legions march across Altus, conquering and enslaving all races in the name of the Eternal Sun. From the dark and humid jungles of Karakos in the south to the vast frozen steppes of the north, the Sunwalkers wield holy flames to remake the world in their image. But far below the surface, in the endless subterranean caverns of the Great Hollow, a timeless evil begins to stir, and the shattered remnants of an ancient civilization stir with it. As the fate of a continent hangs in the balance, 4 individuals of little renown find themselves caught in a conflict stretching back millennia beyond the memory of creation itself. So whenever I tell anyone that I've wrote a book, the first thing that I always get asked is, what's it about? Which, is fair enough. That's what else are you going to ask someone who has written a book? Um, I always find it hard to answer, not because, hopefully, not because my book doesn't have a storyline or it doesn't have anything about it, but because I guess I've tried to pour so much of myself into it that it feels hard to summarize in a couple of sentences. But I'll try. It follows the perspectives of 4 different characters as they basically try to survive in a world that is teetering on the brink of total war. It's a story about loss, it's a story about survival, it's a story about the weird, I guess, fate, destiny, um, and family, I suppose, in a way. It is a dark fantasy. I enjoy telling darker stories, so there's definitely that element in there. And I guess, kind of mythic insofar as there was a thing that happened very far in the past of this story that has had repercussions for the subsequent 8 ages that have gone by. It combines everything that I love in a story, lots of world building, lots of rich mythology, complex characters. Yeah, I've had a great time writing it. It's been a very intense experience building this world up, but it has been sort of pinging around in my mind for the last God knows how many years. So it's a real honour to be able to finally get it all down and onto to paper. It is called Caverns of the Cosmos, and I intend for it to be the first book in a pentalogy called the Anshar, which is the name of the sort of subsection of the universe that the novel is set in. I'll tell you more in the future. So a lot of the inspiration for this book came from, surprise, history and mythology. Two of the topics which I talk far too much about in my day-to-day life. But yeah, history and mythology. I've always been a massive fantasy fan. Um, I read prolifically when I was younger, but I've always been a fan of quite dark fantasy. So there's definitely that undercurrent there. I love high fantasy, love Tolkien, but I wanted to tell a bit of a darker story for this one. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy that when it comes out. I suppose it would be remiss of me to not mention that this world that I created and came up with started its life as a D&D campaign Um, very nerdy, but you know what? We're talking about writing a fantasy book, so who cares? Yeah, it started out as a D&D campaign. It's a world that I started to build for the people that I am a dungeon master for. Um, I've never used like the standard sort of D&D world, so I just thought I'm going to make my own, and I got swept up in the world building, and I got swept up in the lore and creating histories, cultures, gods, people, everything about the world building I just fell in love with. So it was a world building project first, I think, and then I realized that I had all these stories to tell, which aren't necessarily going to fit into a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, but that are still like bouncing around inside my head. Um, so yeah, that's when I started writing. The players in my campaigns have probably had to deal with some big old lore drops over the many years that they've been playing with me, but they seem to enjoy it. So no harm, no foul. Yeah, I guess one of the major inspirations for me is the tale of the biblical flood, and I guess early Mesopotamian Babylonian city states. There's a lot in the novel, I think, that revolves around this, I don't know, almost mythic cataclysm and how the echoes of that cataclysm have shaped history for generations and ages far into the future. There's a little bit of sci-fi in there, only like sort of very low lying, but it's there. I think fantasy and sci-fi have always been my go-to genres. So yeah, I think in some ways there's also a lot of personal experience that has gone in there. Writing this book was somewhat cathartic in a way that I didn't really expect it to be. When you're talking about fantasy, sun worshipping empires, and all of the stuff that is currently in there. But yeah, it's been cathartic. So I guess history, mythology, personal experience. That's where I've drawn the inspiration for this novel. So I'll be honest, writing a book is a bit of a battle. Sometimes you get a little voice in your head that's like, "Who are you to do this? Who do you think you are? Do you really think that your writing is good enough that people will actually want to hear what you have to say?" And if I'm quite honest, it's still difficult for me to quiet that voice sometimes. But I think with a lot of writing, many people have imposter syndrome, and I think the only way to really deal with it is to just write and prove yourself to yourself, for lack of a better term. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, but it's also been arduous at some times. I remember I got about three quarters of the way through the book, and as I've shown you, it's quite large. It's 817 pages at the moment. At its longest, it was 890 pages, and I just thought, like, why could I have not have wrote a 300-page book for my first novel? But that wouldn't be genuine to who I am or what I want to achieve. I've always liked to jump into the deep end of these things, and I can definitely say that I've done that with this absolute unit of a debut. I mean, who knows? It might not even get published, but positive mindset and all that. So yeah, editing has been its own journey. To go through everything that you've written and pick out what doesn't work, I think has arguably been harder than the actual writing of the book. There are times where I've sort of looked at what I've written and I've just been like, what was I doing when I was writing that? Why have I used that word there? Why does this not flow on from the next? And it can be difficult and it can be disheartening sometimes when you delete a fair old chunk of work that you thought was wonderful when you wrote it, but just doesn't fit. But you've just got to crack on with it. I think part of the reason for that, I can't remember where it was that I saw this, but apparently the late great Terry Pratchett said that if you write 500 words a day, the rest will sort of come along naturally. Might be massively paraphrasing that, I don't actually know his quotation, but that's what I forced myself to do. So every day for however long it took me to write this, I wrote at least 500 words a day. I would force myself to sit down and just churn stuff out. And I found that by the time that I'd actually got to the 500 word mark, um, it then started to flow a little bit more naturally. You got yourself into the groove. You found that you were coming up with new ideas, and yeah, it was very rewarding. I also didn't really plan this novel, which is a major thing that I would definitely do next time. Um, I just opened up a Word document one day and said, "Look, I'm going to write a book." And then I started. I had like a vague idea for the story that I wanted to tell, um, but it really did become refined during the telling of the story itself. But yeah, I wouldn't do that again. Now that I have the world developed in my mind, now that I've done all the world building, I will definitely start off by making a very, very detailed plan for the next one. Yes, that is that is the plan. So what happens now? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm about 70% of the way through the editing process, and I will be looking for beta readers. So if any of you want to get an early look and give me some feedback, it would be massively appreciated. Please do either drop a comment or drop me an email or a private message. Can you do that on YouTube? I can't remember. So yeah, if you're interested in being a beta reader, give me a shout. As for publishing, I'm still trying to figure out whether it's worth going down the route of traditional publishing or going down the route of self-publishing. I would welcome any feedback on either of them. Obviously, this is the first thing that I have ever written, and I don't really know anything about publishing yet. I've not done my research. I've been spending my time just writing. So, any thoughts would be massively appreciated. My main goal is to just get this book into the hands of people who will enjoy it. But yeah, apart from that, this is just the beginning. There is so much more that I want to write. I have like another 4 books lined up just for this series. I've got a whole host of other novel ideas going off, and although having to work a full-time job does limit the amount that you can write, it's something that I do every single day, and it's something that I really enjoy and just love doing. And I want to share that with people. So I guess that's what's next, for me at least. Yeah. Obviously, I've not released any videos on this channel for quite a while. I never really had the most regular upload schedule of them all. But I think, although this has been a massive part of my life for the past 3 years, I think that I am ready to, jump back in and start making videos again. So I guess the Fyrdsman channel is back. Exciting. I don't think that it's going to be the same as it was. I don't want to keep myself boxed into the sort of Anglo-Saxon early English niche. Although it is something that I'm very much interested in, and it is still a massive part of my life, I have so many other hobbies and things that I would just love to share with people. I want to talk about spirituality. I want to talk about traveling. I want to interview exciting people and bring them on the show, and just generally expand what we do here a little bit. Yeah, I think that's what the future has in store. So if you've stuck around for this long, thank you. It's much appreciated. Love you very much. If you're new here, welcome. Pleasure to have you. And if you want to stay tuned and stay updated on the book and progress and whatnot, then please do smash that subscribe button. Or just stick around. It's a pleasure to have you all, and it's nice to be back. And I'm feeling good about 2025. So yeah, cheers, guys. Have a great day, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. See you soon.